The first time the fighters came for him, the sky looked almost peaceful. It was just after dawn, late summer 1944, and the Pacific stretched out below like hammered steel. Staff Sergeant Daniel Mercer stood inside the plexiglass bubble of his B-17's ball turret, knees locked against cold metal, shoulders pressed into steel braces, twin .50 calibers resting in his hands like extensions of his own bones. He was 27 years old, older than most of the crew, and already on his 22nd mission over Japanese-held islands. The bomber was called Lucky Penny. The name was painted in red script beneath the cockpit window, along with a small cartoon of a coin with wings. The ground crews said she was lucky because she had come home with holes in her wings, holes in her fuselage, even a hole through the vertical stabilizer once. But she always came home. Mercer didn't believe in luck. He believed in angles, in velocity, in lead time and controlled bursts. He believed in not advertising your position to someone trying to kill you. He had grown up in western Kansas, on flat farmland where wind never stopped blowing. His father hunted coyotes that preyed on livestock, and Daniel learned to shoot before he learned algebra. He didn't just pull triggers, he studied what happened after. How far a .30-06 round dropped at 300 yards. How crosswinds nudged bullets inches off course. By 19 he was winning regional shooting competitions, beating men twice his age. When war came, he enlisted without hesitation. The Army Air Forces tested his eyesight, his reflexes, his accuracy. They sent him to gunnery school in Texas. He graduated near the top of his class, but instructors told him the same thing they told everyone else: trust your tracers. Every belt was loaded 4-ball rounds, 1 tracer. The bright phosphorus tip would burn in flight, showing you exactly where your stream of fire was going. Adjust from there, they said. But Mercer noticed something else during training exercises. Whenever multiple gunners fired, the tracers created glowing highways in the sky. Anyone watching could follow those highways straight back to the source. He didn't argue with instructors. He just made a mental note. By mid-1944, his bomb group was flying long-range missions from island airstrips carved out of coral and jungle. They hit shipping lanes, supply depots, airfields. Japanese fighters rose to meet them almost every time. The pattern became obvious. Zeros would approach cautiously at first. Then someone would open fire. Bright orange tracers stitched across the sky. Within seconds, enemy fighters corrected their aim and concentrated fire on the glowing lines. Gunners were dying on the first pass. On his 15th mission, Mercer watched a Waist Gunner II aircraft take a direct 20mm hit. The man never saw it coming. His tracers had drawn a perfect arrow toward his own chest. That night, while most of the crew played cards under dim lantern light, Mercer sat alone beside a crate of ammunition. He pulled each belt across his lap, 1 round at a time. Whenever a tracer appeared, he removed it. Replaced it with standard ball ammunition from spare stock. By the time he finished, his entire loadout was dark. No phosphorus. No glowing signature. Just cold steel. The next morning, his pilot raised an eyebrow when Mercer mentioned it. "You won't see where you're shooting," the pilot warned. Mercer just nodded. "I already know." 2 days later, they were over a heavily defended harbor at 18,000 feet when the first fighters appeared. 15 of them, rising through broken cloud like sharks beneath thin ice. Mercer rotated the ball turret slowly, tracking the lead aircraft. He did not fire at 1,500 yards. He did not fire at 1,200. He waited until the nose filled his sight and he could see the glint of the pilot's canopy. He squeezed. The twin .50s thundered. 50 rounds per second. No tracers. No warning. Just an invisible stream tearing through the air. The Zero's canopy shattered. The fighter rolled abruptly and dropped, smoke trailing behind. The second attacker overshot, confused. He saw muzzle flashes but no guiding line. He banked, searching for the source. Mercer adjusted half a degree, fired a 2-second burst. The fighter's engine erupted in flame. 2 down in under a minute. The remaining pilots hesitated. Without glowing arcs to follow, they had to guess which turret was firing. They guessed wrong. Another Zero tried a belly approach, climbing sharply from beneath the bomber. Mercer anticipated it. He depressed the turret and fired before the fighter could line up its cannons. The burst walked up the fuselage into the cockpit. 3. Over the next 6 minutes, the sky became chaos. Other bombers' tracers painted brilliant curves across blue. Fighters pounced on those lines, hammering visible positions. 1 B-17 fell out of formation trailing smoke. Another lost its tail gunner. But Mercer remained a shadow. He fired only in tight, disciplined bursts. 2 seconds. Adjust. 3 seconds. Stop. Let the barrels cool. Every round counted. By the time the formation cleared the harbor, 5 enemy fighters had fallen within his field of fire. Back at base, intelligence officers reviewed gun camera footage. They counted 4 confirmed kills and 1 probable. Word spread quickly. Gunners from neighboring crews approached him quietly, asking what he had changed. He showed them his ammunition belts. No tracers. Within weeks, half the squadron was quietly stripping tracer rounds before missions. Officially, nothing had changed. Unofficially, survival rates improved. But the war did not slow down. In September 1944, his group was assigned to escort a massive bombing run against a fortified airfield. Intelligence predicted moderate resistance. They were wrong. More than 30 fighters climbed to intercept. The attack was coordinated and relentless. 2 came head-on. Others attacked from beam and belly angles. The sky filled with contrails, smoke, and sudden blossoms of fire. Mercer's bomber took hits to its No. 2 engine. Oil pressure dropped. The formation tightened as best it could. He counted ammunition by instinct now. First attacker, short burst, engine fire. Second attacker, overshot, tail section shredded. Third, coming from above, he led by a full wingspan and fired. The canopy disappeared in a mist of fragments. He didn't think about kill counts. He thought about geometry. Halfway through the engagement, a 20mm shell struck near the ball turret housing. The impact rang like a church bell. Plexiglass cracked. Shards cut into his sleeve. He felt warm blood soak into his glove. He kept firing. Another fighter lined up from below, trying to exploit his limited depression angle. Mercer twisted inside the cramped turret, tracking through the narrow arc available to him. He waited until the Zero committed to its climb. He fired a single 3-second burst. The fighter disintegrated mid-climb. Then his guns jammed. He swore once, sharply, and cleared the feed. 8 seconds felt like eternity. Another fighter was already closing. He recharged both weapons and fired immediately. The sky fell quiet 5 minutes later. When they limped back to base on 3 engines, Mercer climbed out of the turret stiff and pale. Medics stitched his arm while intelligence officers counted footage. 6 confirmed kills. Across multiple missions, his total rose steadily. 8, 10, 12. He was not a fighter pilot. He received no headlines. No painted tallies on the fuselage in bold colors. Just small chalk marks near his turret position. In November 1944, during a deep strike mission far beyond friendly territory, his aircraft was hit again, this time fatally. Fuel ignited in the wing root. Flames spread faster than suppression systems could handle. The pilot ordered bailout. Mercer waited until the last possible moment, covering the retreat with disciplined bursts that kept fighters at distance. Only when the bomber rolled and altitude bled away did he climb from his turret. He jumped at 5,000 feet. His parachute opened cleanly. Below him stretched enemy-controlled jungle and coastline. He landed hard in a clearing, gathered his chute, and moved immediately. For 3 days he evaded patrols, traveling at night, hiding by day. He drank from streams, followed stars northward. He had no weapon beyond a small sidearm and limited ammunition. On the 4th day, a patrol found him. What happened next was pieced together only after the war, from fragmentary records and testimonies. He was taken prisoner. Official reports listed him as missing in action. Months later, the war moved on. Names of fighter aces filled newspapers. Photographs of decorated officers circulated widely. In quiet offices, analysts compiled statistics. They noted something curious. After mid-1944, gunner casualties in his squadron had decreased. Reports mentioned widespread removal of tracer ammunition. The practice spread across other groups. It was never formally credited to one man, but maintenance logs and crew testimonies traced it back to a Kansas farm boy in a ball turret. His confirmed total stood at 14 by the time of his final mission. No ceremony marked it. No parade. His name was engraved later on a wall of the missing overseas. A line of stone among thousands. But the tactic endured. Modern doctrine in certain combat environments still limits tracer use to avoid revealing positions. The principle remains simple. What the enemy cannot see is harder to kill. If you've made it this far, take a second to like the video. Stories like this don't trend. They don't go viral on their own. They survive because people decide they matter. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider it. There are more forgotten names waiting in dusty archives. Somewhere in Kansas, the wind still moves across open fields the way it did when Daniel Mercer first learned to account for drift and distance. He never saw himself as a hero. Just a man doing the math, removing one deadly variable from an equation written in sky and fire. 14 confirmed victories. Countless lives indirectly saved. No tracers. Just precision. Just silence.